Time for donors, time for the press. But when we call, you're MIA, I guess. We're here with you. Like your hand, you ghost your people can't take a stand. Chicken Nick, where you been? Hiding out again and again. Chicken Nick, scared to talk. You run away, but we don't stop. Chicken Nick, oh Chicken Nick, we're still here. That's the trick. Chicken Nick, we see you clear. Show up, Nick, or stay in fear.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was Chicken Nick, which was one of our protest songs at the July 9th Cawtile Rally in Sunset Bay. The protest was against Nick Langworthy, who was supposed to be the guest speaker. For those of you who are not familiar, Cawtile is a front for fossil fuel. It pretends to be a grassroots organization that opposes wind turbines on Lake Erie. When he didn't show up, good neighbors, namely me and my brother, decided to go and find Senator Borello, who was scheduled to do a town hall in Ellicottville. Since we were unable to protest against Nick, I decided that I'm going to use some of the clips from the protest that we did in Sunset Bay to weave in and out of Mr. Borello's town hall. And I hope you can appreciate some of the chants. I thought it was, a bit funny. In the beginning, the first segment is where Mr. Borrello is answering a question regarding why is someone's energy bill going up so high? And he is also answering in that same segment if the costs that are being calculated take into account all the cleanup that is needed because of flooding and hurricanes and natural disasters from climate change. I should have mentioned that the local Republicans received large donations from the Cawtile backers, and State Senator Borello was the host of the Cawtile Rally at his club in Sunset Bay.
The Democrats who passed this have mandated that they have to hook up all of those solar farms and wind installations to the grid. That is a multi-billion-dollar cost. And on top of it, the energy that they produce is at a much higher rate. Electricity is sold on the open market, right? Literally the price changes by the minute. And they will tell you that, oh no, this is our clean, green, affordable future. And they'll say things like, no, the cost per kilowatt hour of green energy is coming down. It's all a lie. And you're seeing in your bill. Okay? So don't listen to them, look at your bill, and believe your own eyes. The other thing is, who makes the most profit off of the power? The government. Taxes. A lot of taxes on all that. At the end of the day, when you get down to net between the cost controls the government puts in place, the mandates on infrastructure, all of the the cost of doing business in New York State that's so incredibly high. In the end, what those power companies make, and they'll tell you how, they're all wealthy executives, blah, blah, blah. At the end, what they make is this, and what the government makes is this for doing nothing.
Liar, liar, you rolled that fire. Liar, liar, you rolled that fire.
If you don't know, Nick Langworthy introduced and is co-sponsor of the Clean Energy Act. What that does, along with several other what are called energy accountability bills, is make it impossible for states and local municipalities to regulate energy in any way. That means production, transportation, hookup, installation of any kind of energy, supposedly so that states can't be picking winners and losers on the free market, and the market should just bear the brunt of whatever the cost is. But in reality, it's how the federal government can pick winners and losers, and it can pick fossil fuel as the biggest winner, which we've been subsidizing forever.
Nick in 26! No, Nick in 26! No, Nick in 26!
Yeah, I think that the point I'm trying to make is that I will say this, to be agnostic for a moment on whether or not climate change is man-made or not, man-caused, whatever you want to call it. The solutions that they are trying to propose aren't going to address it. That's my point. Okay, you're not going to you can say that the massive floods, and you can have that, academic discussion as to whether or not, are things worse now than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. But the reality is, is what we're doing going to make a difference? And particularly here in New York State, the answer is absolutely not. And, to electrify New York, that's the solution that the governor and her Democrat colleagues want. We're going to electrify New York State. Is that going to solve problems? Is that going to fix climate change? First of all, New York State is only responsible for 0.4% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. So if we wreck our economy to do this, is it going to have an impact on climate change here in New York? No, it's not.
Well, as in most countries in Europe,
The countries in Europe have, what they've done is, number one, they've embraced nuclear power. So honestly, the wind and solar just for show. It's still a small percentage of their portfolio. Here in New York State, on that high demand day a couple weeks ago, the wind and solar made up a fraction of 1% of the power load. So, and you can look at what we've got. Look how much of our land is already blanketed in these things. It's just impossible. The math doesn't add up. There's not enough space. If you blanket all of New York State with these things, it's not going to generate enough power. So the second thing I will tell you is that countries like Germany and France are going back to coal. They were phasing it out, now they're going back.
Shame, shame, that's your name. Shame, shame, that's your name.
So most of that is misleading at best and pretty much an outright lie. Being agnostic regarding climate change means that he either doesn't believe in climate change at all or that man is not contributing to it, which is a position that is either one of convenience or stupidity, and I am not sure which. The next topic at the town hall was about healthcare. Someone asked what was going to happen to hospitals and health clinics and providers in the rural areas under the new Medicare rules. And for some reason, he did not repeat that question so the whole audience could hear it. And I think you'll find he also didn't answer the question.
Right now, 44% of New Yorkers are on Medicaid. Think about that. That's a staggering number. Almost half of the population. We're a wealthy state, okay? There's no reason why nearly half of New Yorkers should be on Medicaid. And why is that a problem for our rural hospitals? Because most of the people that come into our emergency rooms are Medicaid. And they unfortunately treat the emergency room like it's their primary care physician, the non-emergent situation, which costs a lot of money. The reimbursement levels are far below what it costs for that care. Meanwhile, we have all the waste, fraud, and abuse already described, and we have something called the Medicaid, non-emergency Medicaid transportation. This is a Medicaid program. Have you guys seen like taxis from Buffalo driving around down here, or like a minivan with an LV or on the other plate? Okay, that's non-emergency Medicaid transportation. And the amount of fraud in that Medicaid non-emergency transportation is huge. Just in the last year, there have been major busts. The problem is it's a system that was ripe and set up. So the reason I'm saying this is because we have the power within our own state budget to fix this, to make sure that all of our rural hospitals get everything they need if they would just address the waste, fraud, and abuse that's currently already been identified. And that's the part that really upsets me.
What is next?
Wrong, coerced and abusers.
What is next?
Wrong, coerced and abusers.
So, Medicaid recipients are fraudsters and wasters, and the reason that the whole system doesn't work, and if the state just found out those fraudsters and wasters and got them off the rolls, all of this would be paid for with state money, no problem. That's an outright lie. None of what he said would be a spit in the bucket to help keep hospitals open with these new Medicaid rules. As a retired physician, this really gets my goat. They know that they are skirting the truth, skirting the answers, and just giving a little bit of factual data to make it sound like, there is just rampant fraud and abuse that is causing all of the problems. There is huge fraud and abuse in the transportation system for Medicaid. There have been, I think, 8 people that have already gone to jail, and there's still an ongoing new suit that started in January, which is also a criminal suit, and some of the monies have been recovered. Never are all of the monies recovered. But the fraud was on the part of businesses. It is not on the part of the Medicaid recipient, and that's what just really pisses me off. These are just hardworking people trying to get by, and most of the transportation is their own transportation, whether it's walking, bicycling, having a car, whatever. This blaming the, person who, because they're poor, is just inhumane.
Not your fault. Justice is for all. Not your fault. Justice is for all. Not your fault. Justice is for all.
Next, I'm going to take you to the Good Trouble protest in Jamestown. I thought about going to Buffalo, but decided that the smaller red cities would probably have a bigger voice than the Niagara Square rally, in that they actually reach their neighbors. Perhaps somebody's going to recognize another person in the crowd and rethink their Trump vote. There's a chance. I'm going to bring you some voices from the different protesters as to why they're out there, what brings them there, and what their passions are, or if they're doing anything else besides protesting. Okay, I hope you enjoy it. I'm Kathleen King with Good Neighbors Getting It Done.
I'm Sue Ellen Carlson.
Wow. So what brought you out to the protest?
There are so many things. I have some real concerns about what's happening with immigration. My grandparents were immigrants, and as were a whole lot of other people, relatives.
Yeah, I see the due process sign. So,
Absolutely due process. This just flying people out of the country is terrible. Social Security is a problem. We need to protect Social Security. We need to protect Medicare. We need to keep Medicaid. To not have children eating is just, we should be feeding children breakfast and lunch at school and breakfast and lunch during the summer.
Yes.
Yes, we need to have our voices heard.
And it does sound like there's a lot of response.
It's more than the first time I was.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's getting better?
Yes.
Oh, that's really
All
nice.
of the beeping and the waving and the thumbs up.
Sure. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think right now the challenge for me has been just finding the organizations that are involved in this.
Yeah.
And getting into these groups.
Yes. And it is a challenge, especially in the smaller and the more rural and the more Republican areas, and also for people to feel safe. Getting it done in Western New York.
Yes, Kat.
And what's your name?
I'm doing Moran.
Hi, Bill. What's the main thing that brings you out? What are you most worried about? What do you most feel like you can fight for?
Fight for the rights of the people that aren't being vocal enough, that aren't out in the street. For whatever reason, they may feel intimidated. I know that we've experienced that before when we've been with folks. But I'm concerned about the environment. Right off the bat, the pardoning of the yahoos that raped the Capitol, our degradation of environmental protections, the denial of the climate. That upsets me to know. And all this chasing down the immigrants. These are the people that are working our fields. I've just recently learned 2 Woody Guthrie songs. When I look them up, one's called Deportee. Woody wrote that in 1948 as a protest against the plane crash that happened in Los Gatos Canyon in 1948, if you're not familiar. The other song I'm doing now is Pastures of Plenty.
Okay.
Familiar with that?
I am not.
We come with the dust and we go with the wind.
Okay.
It's kind of a-
We're with Diane at the Jamestown Good Trouble protest. And tell me how you got started, why you came out. I was understanding you're a long time protester.
Yeah, the first biggest one was the Great Peace March for global nuclear disarmament, atomic bomb. So about 500 of us walked from LA to DC, and our thought was we have to get to the core of the people and talk to them and have them realize that we need to petition governments and say, you don't have any right to do this to us common people.
So, and is there anything that you're particularly worried about? What passion that brings you
Yeah.
out? What?
Nazis. I've spent a lot of time, you can ask Bill, reading books of Nazi Germany. I have a library in my head and at home of books about Germany and the rise of the Nazi Party. And I see it right here today, undermining the kindergarten of the immigrants and the way he's splitting America. But most of all, his arrogant attitude that he alone can make laws and make decisions.
Rule by fear. I was just wondering what brings you out?
Brings me out
to
today?
the protest?
I've been involved in government. I've been a civil servant. My whole career has been on protecting the environment and enjoying the environment. My grandfather, after coming here from Poland in the early 1900s, immediately went back to serve in the United States Army in World War I to fight against tyrants. My uncles fought against tyrants in World War II. My father is a combat veteran in the Korean War, and we cannot let our country fall to tyranny. So I feel very strongly about that. And we need to protect our democracy against against fascists, which is what my ancestors fought against.
So that's the passion.
That's part of the passion against saving the environment. We can't have a healthy environment if we have tyrants who don't care about climate change and want to let corporations run wild over our environment, over the health of the public.
Is there any other kind of organizations like environmentally that you work with or toward, or anything that you do community wise?
I support the Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy, the Nation Conservancy, Ducks Unlimited, Trout Unlimited,
Okay, lots.
the West New York Land Conservancy.
Because I think all of those things are important. Like
Yes.
the small things, people think it doesn't matter. It all matters.
Right.
It all matters. Like what you do, all of it matters. So I try to bring that out of, if you've got a little library, if you've got to do a book club, whatever, all of it makes a difference. And if you're passionate about the environment, I'm happy.
And I've served as an elected official in the past, and I'm running for village board. The village board will put again in 2025.
Good for you. Okay. That voting is like number one.
Yes.
So if we don't vote in local matters, big time. Local
If we
makes a huge difference.
If we want leadership to change, we need to elect people locally who represent our views and build on that to take over.
And
national elections.
ask the current local leaders, what do you think about what's going on? And if they just mum on it, that means they support it.
Right.
That's
So
how I look at it.
get out and go to every privilege of the floor you can in your local community and your county legislature, and let them know that Republicans are responsible for what's going on and they need to be stopped.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, John.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. That was great. Last, I want to come back to the Langworthy protest. We did have some hecklers, mostly just, cars, we love Trump, kind of honking and, or giving us a hard time about whatever for just a minute or two as they were driving by. We did have one more persistent heckler whom you're going to see on the video. I want to discuss a little bit about personal risk and responsibility. And I also want to talk about not acquiescing in advance. I mean, we're seeing that all over the place with First Amendment rights, the TV stations and newspapers and all of that, the lawsuits and acquiescing in advance for some sort of personal gain. We do not, as of yet, have to go outside of the law to do any of what we've been doing in terms of making our points and getting our voice heard. You have to know your own risk tolerance. If you feel vulnerable or anxious or scared, don't go to a protest, do something else. If you can't keep your anger in check, don't go to a protest, do something else. If you feel like you can't keep your mouth in check and just not respond because you're full of righteous indignation, know yourself and don't go to a protest. I've got a lot of righteous indignation in my own body, and I have a hard time with keeping my mouth shut, but I've learned to just ignore and turn my back on any kind of a heckler. It's not worth it, and we have to protect others. So you're putting other people in danger if you don't do those things. So just simply don't go to a protest. Do something else. Don't romanticize our own bravery. Don't sell fear and your own uncertainty. Fear does sell. We've been being sold fear for a very long time. But let us not do that. There is currently one particular group in the southern tier, but there's several groups that I know of that are using fear to pit people against each other, and it's primarily, pitting old people against young people, or actually the other way around, young people against old people. I don't think there's very many old people that don't want young people to step up. We are begging for young people to step up, and instead of using fear as a tactic that we're not protecting people enough, everybody is responsible for their own self. And if you go to a protest, whether you're young or old, you're responsible for your own self. And you should, heed the advice of the organizer and know who your organizer is. And for the most part, if you listen to them and if we work as a group, you're going to be very safe. The other thing that we had were three, I'm going to call them kids because they're younger than my kids, but three young people that joined us in the protest, one of whom was disabled and the other two were her friends and helpers, and they were also full of joy. So let's remember to bring our joy and our hope and our resilience and our camaraderie to these occasions and lift people up. That's what it's all about. And just try to remember that. Don't let the haters bring you down. That's all I'm saying. You're going to see a little bit of a video with our one of the more famous hecklers that goes around with to most of the Langworthy things.
Who am I? Who am I? If you want to get a message out, how can you do that without engaging? Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's fought hard. Nick turned his back.
Hands up, that's your benefits back.
That's fought hard. Nick turned his back.
Hands up, that's your benefits back.
All right, that will do it for this episode. On the very final takeout, we're going to have some scenes and sounds from the Elbows Up July 5th rally. That was fabulous. And I want you to know that there's going to be a National Day of Friendship also put on by the same Elbows Up people in this area, but it's going to be all around the nation, including the Mexico border. It's going to be at Beaver Island State Park on August 16th at 4 o'clock. And I hope that we'll see you there.
Okay, ready?
Good neighbors loves Canada.
That sucked. One more time. Ready? Ready? We can do better.
1, 2, 3. Good Neighbors loves Canada.